Welcome back to One Piece Explained. I just finished watching all 8 episodes of the One Piece live action series from Netflix and Tomorrow Studios, and I am all smiles. Now, I don't usually do these types of videos. You might know me more for my breakdowns or analysis, but I did want to just talk about my thoughts on the show as a whole, how it went, how everything was. Um, like I said, I generally feel pretty good about it. As a One Piece fan, I enjoyed it a lot, and as someone who really appreciates the manga, I think there are a lot of cool details in this that you would probably overlook on your first watch through. I know there was some stuff that I have to go back and just confirm and double check, but I overall really enjoyed it. I think it starts off really strong. Like the first 2 episodes, the second episode I think is my favorite episode of the whole show. There's a certain character that's just really good. This is gonna be a non-spoiler, by the way. I'm not gonna talk about any spoilers in this. I'm gonna talk about mostly just general points, and this is going to be a little bit more freeform. I'm not really having a script for this, but yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed the show. I think it started off really strong. The first 2 episodes were solid. I think if you're not into it by the end of the second episode, maybe this isn't for you, and that's not a bad thing. There's people enjoy different mediums. For example, I'm not a big fan of the anime. I think there's some things that I don't really enjoy about it, but the mangas, they're still there. We can still read the manga if we want to. Nothing's going to change on that. Overall, there are more changes to the story than I imagined, and I think most of them work. I think a lot of them are, for the purposes of a live action series, an 8-episode season, I think a lot of them work structurally. Some of them I feel were a little bit disappointing or they fell a little bit short. Not that they don't work, but I think if you're a brand new fan of the series, so you've never, experienced One Piece in the manga or the anime, some of this restructuring might not actually work to convey the same things that the manga or the anime does. And I don't want to go specifically into any details about which parts, and I want to color your opinion of the show before you watch it. But there are some things that I think they're not really a concern, but I wonder how someone who hasn't experienced One Piece will take them going into it. I think the world itself feels so vibrant, and so it's really the manga brought to life or the anime brought to life. There's a lot of spots in the anime and the manga, especially in early One Piece, where the settings are not super robust. Like think Shellstown, for example, or Orangetown. There's a lot of buildings, but maybe they don't really feel lived in. And I guess with Orangetown, it's not a great example because everyone's kind of afraid of that setting. I guess I shouldn't. It's not necessarily lived in this context as well in this show. You'll see what I mean when you get to the episode. But I think what they did with the Orangetown stuff was phenomenal. I love the whole and we've talked about this in the trailer, so it's not really spoilers, but I love the whole big top circus setting for Buggy's crew. And when you get to what's actually going on with Buggy and Orangetown, it's super smart. It's really clever. I love that they did that. And by the way, I will have I'm going to do 8 breakdowns, one for each episode, and I'll try and put out one every day. Maybe I'll have one up later tonight for the first episode. And then I'm going to do an overall recap of the series as a whole, what I would change, what I wouldn't, what I really liked, and going into detail and spoilers. But for this, I just wanted to be a little more freeform in general. Oh, they do this really cool thing with bounties and character introductions. It's it's not an Oda box per se, if you know what I'm talking about from the manga, but it's such a cool way to introduce a character and show their bounty and their name and stuff like that. I love how they do it. They interact. It's like a bounty poster that pops up and they interact with it. It's so, you'll see what I mean. It is so cool. That was one of the best parts of the series for me, just seeing who's going to show up and how they're going to interact with with the bounty poster and stuff like that. It's really cool. You'll know what I'm talking about as soon as it pops up. There's a cameo or characters appear in episode 5, and it's really, really cool. I like how they did it. The general story beats are there. We go through pretty much every major arc in the series, or in the East Blue. However, the way we get there in some of the instances are different, and they changed that to make it more compelling for the medium. And I think it works in some cases. In other cases, it's a little less compelling. It feels a little the motivations might not match up in certain spots, but what can you do, right? It's at the end of the day, it is a live action Netflix series, and it's not, it's not supposed to be the pinnacle of television or filmmaking or anything like that. And I'm not saying this is bad. Don't take that as, that's not my takeaway here. I'm just saying nothing's going to be perfect. There's no studio, no production company in the world that's going to be able to do a perfect adaptation or even a perfect production of any idea, right? Any IP, any story. There's always going to be something to improve, and I think generally this show captures all the things it needed to capture for a One Piece fan. And I don't mean that as like just, oh, you enjoy One Piece, or you like power scaling, or you enjoy like, acting like you know what you're talking about with One Piece. I'm saying, like, if you are a true fan of these characters, if you're a true fan of the world that Oda has created and crafted over the past 20 some years, you're going to enjoy this show because it pays you off on a lot of not just details, but just the best way I can put it, it's a celebration of the series that we've enjoyed for so long, right? I don't know how many of my audience are longtime readers or watchers of the anime, right? I've been a fan for 2 decades now at this point and it's just so cool seeing some of these characters on live action, or just seeing the attention and care put into some of their like costumes or their actions, how they move on screen, how they talk on screen, the world they inhabit. It's really cool. It's a big payoff for being a One Piece fan. If you're somebody who doesn't really care for that kind of stuff and you're more, hyped up on the idea of a one-to-one retelling, then you probably won't enjoy this. I'll be honest. And I guess maybe I'll talk about that a bit. I don't really. I get a lot of comments in some of my trailer breakdowns about how people are mad, how it's not looking one-to-one, or how stuff has changed and stuff like that. And I really don't know what to. I don't really respond to these comments. I don't really know what to tell them. Right? It's not. I don't want to just be like, hey, you're wrong, or like, hey, don't think what you think, because everyone's entitled to their opinion. But there has to be an understanding when you're approaching an adaptation as a viewer that this is going to be an adaptation, that this is not a one-to-one retelling, that this is trying to do something with the source material that fits in this medium, right? And that's not just for live action stuff, actually. That's just for any adaptation, right? You take a book, turn it into a cartoon or film, turn it into a live action, turn it into whatever, things are going to change. And I think some of my audience, some of the people that leave these comments, I think they come from an anime background, not necessarily the manga, but they enjoy the anime. And that just blows my mind, because the anime itself is an adaptation of the manga. Like the anime is not a source material by itself, right? And I would go as far as to argue that the anime itself takes far greater leaps and departures from the source material than this live action does. And that's going to sound crazy. That's going to sound uncanny, but when you look at it as like a statistical thing, or in terms of like a quantitative perspective, the anime adds way more stuff and removes way more stuff than this live action ever could. That's just a fact. And of course, that's not really fair. The anime is much longer, it covers more material. But you get my overall point. Adaptations change things. I don't really see people in my comments complaining that in episode 1, Nami is introduced. In episode 1 of the anime, they introduced Nami and she's in Shell's Town, or how like Luffy's Romance Dawn backstory, with him as a kid, isn't covered until right before Orange Town or something. People don't comment that on my videos, and they don't complain about that, but they complain about the changes the live action takes. So I don't know. I just feel people aren't necessarily consistent with their complaints, and that's fine. We don't have to be all consistent. We're human. It's not a huge deal, and it's all just internet comments. It's not actually like it's not even a big issue. But I'm just saying, if you're approaching this with the perspective of an open mind and understanding how adaptations work, then you're gonna enjoy this. If you're going into it without that, I'm not saying you're closed-minded for not doing that, but if you have your own preconceived notions of how media should be, or your certain biases towards certain media, then yeah, you're not going to enjoy this, and that's fine too. Not everyone has to like this, but for the people that do, I think you are going to enjoy this. I think that you will have a good time. There are certain things that happen that are kind of like cameos or Easter eggs that are really cool, and because they don't cover every single minute detail of the overall story, there are really cool instances where it's like you see a certain character, you're like, oh, that's that person. I'm so glad they put them in here. Speaking of, they do remove some characters that are more minor, I would say, and then maybe some characters that are a little more difficult to portray in live action. I don't know if that's necessarily the reason they took them out, but you may be surprised of who actually makes it into the cast. And maybe they'll be in a future season. Oh, there is a lot of seeding for future episodes or future seasons. That was one of the coolest parts of this. I really enjoyed that. There's so much, like, straight off the bat, this is not a spoiler, straight off the bat, there's talk of Baroque Works. That blew my mind. Like, okay, they acknowledge it, they're just gonna do it. Like, season 2 might happen. I'm not saying it's happening, but if they wanted to do it, there are seeds for that. And interestingly enough, there are seeds for like every arc pretty much, and like up to the time skip, right? You have like a seed for East Alabasta, you have a seed for Skypia, you have a seed for Baroque Works in a way. I'm sorry, not Baroque Works, Water 7 and East Lobby in a certain way, not like super explicit. But overall, the point is, if they want to do future episode or future seasons, and they choose to do future seasons, they can do it. There's stuff written in that allows them to go there. If they don't want to do that, then they kind of covered it, or at least nodded to it at the very least in this season, which I think is really cool and it's really smart. It pays off the longtime fans who are paying attention, digging for these details, but you know, it doesn't really confuse any new fan who's going through this. There is one seed that's like crazy. I was like, wow, they really dropped that. That's crazy. Good on them. But but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I haven't said yet. Oh, I know Loguetown was a big point of contention during all of this build up to the show. I won't necessarily say one way or the other. I will say that we do see Loguetown. I'm not going to say how much we go into it. And there are characters that are in Loguetown at some point. And yeah, that's all I'll say. You'll enjoy it. You will have fun. Man, I hope I didn't really like. Maybe that was too much framing. Maybe I like pushed you guys too much to think one way or the other. No, enjoy it. There's some stuff. You may be disappointed. You may not be. I was really excited at what we got from the Loguetown characters, cast, city, whatever. Like, I was cool with what we got. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Anyways. If you're watching this, if you're still watching this, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for watching all of my trailer breakdowns throughout the past like 2 months. Honestly, I really can't appreciate you guys enough. I can't thank you guys enough for all of that. Man, I'm just really not good at this. I don't have a script in front of me. I just, I'm freeballing this and I just sound like an idiot. Confirmed. But no, really, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be working on these episode breakdowns over the next few days. Like I said, I'm gonna do one of them a day. And yeah, that's gonna be good. And there will be more live action content. I'm not saying like season 2 is happening, but I'm saying I will be talking about a potential season 2. I will be talking about some of the seeds that they made in this season and how that could manifest in the live action form. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, this video is probably not going to make you subscribe. I sound like a complete idiot, but do whatever. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the live action. Thank you for sticking with me throughout all this, and I hope you watch the breakdowns when they come out. As always, thank you, and I hope to see you in the next one.